This is the Alternative Edge, home of KBVU podcasts.
You're listening to the Entertainment Hour with Tanner Frost,
Mason Wickett,
and Diego Huerta
on KBVU's Alternative Edge. Start your timers and get ready because here we go. Welcome back to the Entertainment Hour here on the Alternative Edge, KBVU sister station, and the home for KBVU podcast. I'm Tanner Frost, alongside my fellow two media aficionados. They can introduce themselves as they go.
Mason Wickett,
Diego Huerta.
Three BV football players, I, sports director of KBVU, Mason and Diego, of course. The two joining me for the Season 3 debut of the Entertainment Hour. Fellas, how have you been doing? You're laughing. What's wrong?
I love the seasons.
It is. This is Season 3. What was last season? Did we forget
Reboot.
already?
It was a reboot.
Season 2 was the reboot. Season 1 was the debut.
Yeah.
So
pilot.
Have we
No,
decided?
pilot episode.
Sorry, is the pilot episode. Have we decided on what this is yet?
The remaster.
The remaster.
The remaster. The remake.
Yeah.
The reckoning. Okay, no, I like remaster. This is the remaster of the Entertainment Hour. So if we would make a remaster of our pilot, because it has to be the original, what are we doing the Entertainment Hour? Better sound quality for sure from season 2. That'll be a plus.
I think you just replaced me with literally anybody.
We'll have a logo this time.
Yeah, I'm really excited.
Well, we're still
about
working on that one. That's for the season 2.
Yeah.
That's for next week.
Right. See the remake of season 2.
Yeah. What else? How do we make this podcast better?
Any ideas?
More coffee.
Always more coffee. That's
Diego,
good.
resident coffee guy in the
Right.
podcast.
Coffee aficionado on
know
the
what?
scene.
Aficionado.
You
That's
know
a
what
great
Di-
word.
You know what Diego did for me this morning?
What did he do? He got you coffee.
He got me coffee.
You know what Diego did not do for me this morning?
Get you coffee.
I don't like coffee, but I would have appreciated the gesture. That's
Well,
okay.
Diego's the one that introduced me to iced coffee, and it is delicious. Been a staple of my life ever since.
You still have a long way to go, my apprentice.
Yes, master.
You've never had iced coffee before? I know we're off track already, but
I did it I had one last year, and
I like how you say you did iced coffee
did
for
iced
the
coffee
first
last
time.
year.
College is a time to try things.
Yeah, it really
to be
is.
fair. All right, so what have we been doing? What have we been playing, watching, listening? What have we just been up to? I've personally been playing a lot of MCC, as you can see. I mean, you can see. We sit next to each
Right.
other and we can see our TVs. We all bought FIFA 20.
That was your idea.
That's been rather stupid and fun. I really hate FIFA, but I cannot help it.
despise FIFA.
I can't help but play it because I'm addicted to it.
Right.
What else have we been doing? What have you been watching? I'm sure Diego has an anime that he's been certainly into.
I'm currently starting Black Clover for all those who've seen it. Not as bad as I thought it was going to be, but still not great.
Why would you expect it to be bad though? Why do you? I can't watch something knowingly thinking it's going to be bad going into it.
Well, you went to Captain Marvel, didn't you? You thought that was going to be bad.
I didn't think it was going to be bad. I thought
You know what you thought was going to be bad, and you still went, was The Rise of Skywalker.
Star Wars has a past.
Okay,
though.
that's fair.
But back to Diego. What? Why are you watching it?
Well, it had a stigma in the anime community that made it seem like it was bad. Everybody talked down on it, but the only way to really find out is to watch it yourself. Because why let others people's opinions matter when I could watch the show for myself?
Like this podcast. People can make fun of it all they want, but they need to truly listen to it.
Who makes fun of this podcast?
Nobody, because this is our third season and this is a remaster. This
Number
is a new
one.
thing.
Number one, by the
We
way.
did get awarded number 1. For those who did not see, we got the number 1 entertainment podcast at the ICMAs this past spring. It actually is the SCJ National Award, so it was a national award. So congrats to us, and we're just looking to go up from there. I think we set the bar pretty high.
We did.
So if we disappoint you from here on out, that's actually on us. So don't worry about it, I guess.
Well, and on you. Lower your expectations.
This is true. We're trying our best, but sometimes your best just isn't good enough.
True.
COVID-19.
So wise words of Coach Delk.
Of course. So as we can tell everyone, probably get this out of the way, we are certainly recording this podcast in safe conditions. COVID-19 on campus is starting to take its toll here at Buena Vista University in Storm Lake in Iowa. We have protective screens in front of Mason and I. Diego is off on his lonesome in the dark corner of the room. That's where he'd be anyways.
Yeah,
but now it's nice now because he's safe. We just don't have to push him to the side and feel bad about it. Now we can push him to the side and feel good about it.
Yeah, right.
Is it colder over in that corner? You're so far away.
You are.
It's cold and lonely over here.
I mean, that's the point, but I kind of feel bad when he talks about it.
Well, if you need me to come over there and snuggle you for a little bit, I can.
No, social distancing.
That's
Well,
fair.
I put my mask up or something.
Well, it'd be there in the commercial break, so they wouldn't know.
okay.
We were just kidding. Hey, okay, so
Okay.
Hey, I don't want to see that anyways.
Why not? What's wrong with that?
Nothing. I just don't want to see
You
it.
can't bear to see Mason cuddle another man.
It's true. Someone's phone just went off.
That was you, I think.
That wasn't me.
All right, we're already getting off
texted me.
task. All right, so we need to start talking about entertainment because the whole point of the entertainment hour for the next 45 minutes or so, plus commercial breaks, we have your utter and undivided attention. Myself, Tanner Frost, Mason Wickett, Diego Huerta. We're going to be talking about video games, music, television, anything your media heart desires to hear. We have it here on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever you want to hear your podcast, plus SoundCloud, where we host KBVU and the Alternative Edge, our sister station and the home for KBVU podcasts. Find them all there, all our different shows. Entertainment Hour, the Braden and Collins Show, and of course, Football in Focus with our favorite two, Austin West and Lavelle Harris. All of them will be on the KBVU SoundCloud, which we'll plug near the end of the show again. But until then, we build toward the second half of today's show, and with that, we house build as well with the theme for it. We'll be back after this commercial break. Welcome back to the Entertainment Hour. You just listened to the house building theme from Red Dead Redemption 2, circa 2018 November. What a time it was to be alive then. We just climbed up a ladder, hammered a nail, and nailed that first intro of the Season 3 remaster. You like that one, Chef's Kiss,
It was
of course.
beautiful. That was a good change.
The house building theme is one of my favorite songs, and it's one of two, obviously, A Quiet Time from Red Dead
Yes.
2. This part of the game, and we're going to talk about the music, just a disclaimer to everyone, now our commercial breaks are going to include music and some of our personal picks from video games. It can be melancholy, it can be upbeat and fun, like the house building theme, which I think is a great way to start off and kick off Season 3. But basically, this is my pick for the week, and I personally loved Red Dead 2. I have yet to go back through it because it was a long time to go through in the first place. Absolutely loved it, if not some valid criticisms that it dragged on a little bit. But this part of the game, though it was dragging on, without giving too much spoilers for anyone who hasn't played it, since it's still rather recent, was out of nowhere, honestly.
Yeah.
It's a depressing end to the first 3/4 of the game, and then you kind of go into an epilogue that's more second or last quarter of the game than actual epilogue, and like the bluegrass jangle, and you can guess what's going on. They're building a house, which seems pretty trivial, but it's actually really fun. It's a nice fun montage that raises the spirits in a really like depressing time leading into the first game, because there's a bit of a time skip leading into it as well.
Yeah, exactly. There's like you said, it's a really, you're down in the dumps after what has been going on in the game, and just to have that where you're with characters that you know and love, and you're just doing something so simple as building a house, and to have music like that, it really is. It just raises your spirits monumentally because it's so rewarding.
And it's probably the most fun I've ever had in a QuickTime event.
Yeah.
That's all it is you're just
Pretty much.
You know what the song says, you're nailing down and building the house, and first you destroy it, but it's just an upbeat like bluegrass theme that is, I taps my foot, and I have it on my phone, and it's just fun to listen to. Like I can't consider myself a fan of a bluegrass genre, but it was an instant download when I heard it.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a very pleasant surprise. I was like, oh, it was very nice.
Absolutely. Okay, well, that's the house building theme for our first commercial break, and now we're going to talk about our game of the week. So recently, us three plus a lot of friends, socially distanced, of course, and not too many of us that are together, we've been playing Jackbox Party Packs, which I'm sure everyone can at least have. A lot of people have certainly played Jackbox before, and this is going to be our game of the week section, by the way, but have played something akin to it. So Jackbox, for those who are uninitiated, is just Kahoot. So everyone, at least our age, educationally, in high school, has probably played a Kahoot at some point, where it's a trivia-based game on the cloud, but everyone has their own controller, and that's the beauty of it. So the game is hosted on a central computer that someone could project and use a big TV for, and then everyone else gets a code that they log in from a certain website, the Jackbox.tv, on their phone, and everyone has a smartphone, which is the best part, so you don't have to go out and buy extra controllers or hold a bunch for people and spend a lot of money. And then you log into the game, and you play one of up to about 35 now. I think there's
Oh, wow.
there's 6 party packs, and I think there's 5 games in each, but there's also a few standalones like Quiplash that I think are in packs themselves, but they were so popular they released them individually. Anyways, you play on your phone in the controller, button taps, drawing, everything's using your fingers basically, and it's so much fun. And we've been having a blast with Jackbox, and just go out there, make it a little PG-13. It's even more fun when you're slightly inebriated for sure.
Definitely.
Which we might plan on doing after this.
Probably are going to do tonight. Yeah.
Yeah, so
We're
just a
all
little preview.
over 21, of course.
And socially distanced, of course. Just, the 3 of us plus the other one that lives in our suite will be playing. But we have been playing 6 specifically, and I think 6 has been an absolute hit for one game and one game alone. We haven't even played 3 out of the other 5, and that's Press the Button. And Press the Button is an absolute blast. Do you guys want to talk about your first impressions about it?
Well, at first I thought it was just a copy and paste version of Spot the Faker, but after playing it with my friends, I realized there's actually so much more to it than Spot the Faker, and finding out who the alien is, which is the basic premise. You are astronauts trying to find out who the alien is.
Mm-hmm. And first, to just describe Spot the Faker, basically what happens is at the start of the round, the whole thing is alien spaceship themed, and it's sci-fi style. But everyone on their phone gets a prompt saying, you are the human or you are the alien, which will sound pretty familiar to most people that have played something like this in a youth group or anything. Because I used to play Mafia when I was young, where someone is a mob boss or a criminal or whatnot, and you're in a big group, and it basically turns into a big game of pointing fingers and accusations, which sounds like chaos. And it is. Don't get me wrong, but it's so much fun.
It is. And there's always little subgroups and little alliances where you're like, oh, I trust you. I know your mannerisms. You would be doing this if you're an alien or a mob boss or whatever. And since you're not doing this, I know that you're on my side. Or if you're doing this, I know you're lying. And apparently I'm lying all of the time.
Yeah, I was going to say, the best part of the sub-game outside the game is, Diego, you can demonstrate this for me, the noise that Wickett makes when anyone accuses him. So I say, Wickett, I think you're the alien. And he goes, What? What? No.
What?
No.
No.
What? Me? It couldn't be me. I'm not the alien.
Well, it's never me.
Yeah, but it's funny to accuse you. And it was you at one point. You were really mad because we went 10 rounds, our first 10 rounds.
It was literally about 10 rounds, and not even in the same night. We played it about 3 different times now, and only the very last time we played it was I actually an alien.
And let's not forget, 5 games in a row, 5 wins.
Yeah. Diego's the alien 5 times in a row. That's insanity.
And speaking about Diego being the alien, I have beef with him in our second game that we played. So what happens in the game? So we have been playing in about 6, which I think is the perfect number. It goes from 3 to 10. I cannot imagine playing 3 because it'd be 1-on-2, and that would be so impossibly hard for the alien to single out, especially because there's mechanics in the game that admittedly are a little overpowered compared to other ones. To how do you expose the alien,
right?
And
how you test your crew.
You test the crew, let's say, because everyone's part of the crew in quotations. But when you play 6, 2 people are the aliens, and when you start the game, that said prompt comes up on your screen and it'll say you are a human or you are an alien. And when you're an alien, it tells you who your partner is. So Diego and I, in our very second game, I was the alien first game with a girl we were playing with. We won. Then Diego and I, and also the goal is you have to space the 2 aliens.
Yes.
If you only get one out of the 2, the alien group wins.
Yeah, you have to shoot them out the airlock.
And honestly, it is skewed toward the aliens, especially when you have larger groups, which I think why 6 is perfect. It was really, really challenging, but on our 6 or so game, we finally got it, and the absolute joy of everyone, even if they were the aliens that went up in the room, we all just cheered. It was absolutely amazing. But I think the harder it is, but not fair, but obtainable that it is, it makes it more satisfying in the end, which it certainly was.
Yeah, absolutely.
But Diego was the alien, and to digress back, we were working together, and I had written a prompt, something about an evil character or something like that. And sometimes, so there's a prompt in a certain game for people, and it's the alien if you get picked versus 2 others, and it's like, describe an evil character or something like that. Oh no, it was a strongly agree, disagree survey type deal. And my answer was strongly agree, and Diego goes, that's not very you. You wouldn't do that. And I go, yes, I would. And I'm like,
yeah.
I'm like,
Diego, come on.
Diego, we're partners here. And then he didn't. And then at the end of the game, we won. And I'm like, Diego, what are you doing? He's like, oh, I didn't know you were an alien. I was like, it's on the screen. Like, you're throwing me under the bus.
Yeah.
But
We still won, though.
we did, and honestly, it's actually kind of a tactic, because if Diego could get me spaced, which happened later on in the game, I got killed, but my partner survived. It's like, that works.
It was probably me that got shot out the airlock with you.
I think it probably was. You guys shot out of the airlock quite a bit.
I did.
You were a very dead alien, or a very dead human
Very dead
most
human.
of the time. But
I always get accused.
yeah, I think Push the Button was probably one of my favorites out of the entire.
Oh, definitely.
But what other favorites do you have from Jackbox? Because again, there's like 35 games, and you got one. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I think the go-to in a party situation is Quiplash.
Mm-hmm.
Quiplash is so much fun because it pits them almost like a bracket style. You know, it pits them head to head, and basically all it is, you're just trying to be funny.
It's witty.
Yeah, it's just really witty humor, and like I said, it pits them head to head because, and then people in the room vote on which one is funnier, basically. Like, one of my favorite categories, or I guess prompts, is, screw it, just write something dirty.
Yeah.
And that's just a free pass. you know?
Usually, if you're playing with a bunch of people that are not as mature as you'd like them to be, like us in
Yeah.
our age bracket, it devolves sometimes, or evolves, if you want to look at it that way. But Quiplash is like usually one of the simplest games, which is like a testament to how good it is that people like
Definitely.
it so much. But Quiplash is really, really good. I think that's like one of the first ones that came out. Madverse City is pretty
Yeah.
fun. That's in Pack 5. That's a robot rapping game, and the robot in the rapping game that pairs you up against like the, I don't want to say, if you have an odd number of people, it pairs you against like an AI. Gene. Well, I wasn't saying his name, but the infamous Gene spits absolute bars.
Well,
And
you can either walk all over him or he will stomp your face into the ground.
yeah, usually our friend Austin West, co-host of Football Unfocused, of course, as you know, he got decimated by Gene, and it
Yes.
was like the sixth time Gene went, and it was nothing up till then, but then Gene builds up like a volcano and
Yeah.
erupts, and I'm afraid of
He's a
Gene.
ticking
just for
time
that-
bomb.
I'm afraid of Gene for that very reason. Diego, what are some of your favorite games from Jackbox out of all the ones we played? We've honestly only played I have all the packs. As
Yeah.
much as I like to waste money on video games, we need to play more of them. We've probably played 8 out of the
I'd say we played about
32.
10% of them.
Yeah, I was gonna say we need to do a lot more. We usually play the best ranked ones anyways. Like, people love push the button.
I think that just goes to show the testament of how fun they actually
Mm-hmm.
are. If we can spend so many hours and so much time, it's the same thing, but just playing 2 or 3 different games, I mean, they're just so much fun. It's a breeding ground for inside jokes, you know. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, Diego, why don't you tell us what your favorite one is?
I forget the name. Which one is it where you are kidnapped into this haunted house?
Trivia Murder Party. I was
Yeah.
gonna say that's pretty good
That's
too.
a good
Trivia
too.
Murder Party, because it's the most straightforward trivia. Like, there's something that fun in the simplicity of just trying to remember trivia, and in doing so being the one who escapes this
Yes.
haunted house.
And this is kind of a theme of the day, because we'll get to this later, but simplicity does not equal a bad thing, especially for games like this. And when everyone has access, accessibility and simplicity is a staple of making a basic game sometimes, but also a very addictive and very fun one for all ages and all parties. Even if we weren't gamers, which all of us that play could be considered gamers, some of us more than others, but play a lot of video games. That's the beauty of Jackbox, is that they're party games for a reason. Anyone has a phone, anyone can play, and usually the games are pretty straightforward, and the most straightforward ones are usually the most fun. But stuff like Don't Push the Button, where it's a little more, or Push the Button, sorry, because we push the button anyways, it wouldn't matter. Stuff like that, that's a little more complicated, make it more worth it when you win, but it's not really a competitive thing, especially when you're trying to be funny. There's a point value system associated to a lot of them, but it doesn't really matter because it's more about just laughing. Which any game you play, you'll find
you're
some
just trying to
enjoyment.
have fun, yeah.
We played the role models one, and I was hyped up in Pack 6.
Yeah.
I didn't really like that.
I mean,
I
yeah.
didn't see the fun in it.
It's funny because my family, there's one, it's called espionage, or no, guespionage, where it takes statistics from, I don't know, some source, and you have to guess 35.
Family Feud, kind of.
No, not even. It's guess what percent of people do this, and you have the person who guesses the closest amount or something wins. And my family loves that one, but
It kind of sounds like Family Feud.
I mean, we can play it when we get back, and I'll show you.
Okay,
but-
is that a Jackbox game?
yeah, it's a Jackbox
Okay.
game. And but yeah, my family absolutely loves that game, and it's just come on, I want to get to some actual laughs. Because my family's pretty funny. I don't know what happened to me.
Weird flex, but
Yeah.
okay. You're not that unfunny. Not terrible.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you.
no problem.
But yeah,
Like a 6?
6.5 on a good
Aw.
day.
He's got a coffee in him, so we'll give him a 6.5. Okay, well, we'll play some more Jackbox tonight. I'm sure we'll come back next
Yes.
week with more funny stories. But for now, we have a Retro Rewind, the first of the remastered season 3. Diego, this is going to be yours. You get the honors of spilling out the beans on what we are going to analyze first. I'm going to blast from the past. What do we got?
All right. The distant past is 2013.
Ooh.
The movie Pacific Rim comes out. And keep in mind, there will be spoilers. If you haven't seen it, that's your fault.
I like he's distant past of 2030. We shouldn't even be alive at that point. Remember 2012?
I do remember.
That's a retro rewind.
Do you remember where you were when the world was supposed to end?
No, because I didn't believe it, but it's kind of funny that
I think it
people
did end, and this is all a dream.
I mean, yeah, it's pretty bad right now. We're probably edging closer than we've ever been, to be
you're
fair.
not wrong.
All right, well, speaking of the world ending, Pacific Rim, let's hear it.
Well, Pacific Rim, for those who haven't seen it, is a basic movie of giant monsters have invaded the planet. So
Basic.
instead of building any sort of tactical or smart weapons, we make giant robots to fight them.
Mechas.
The
Nice.
tagline is, we need to fight monsters, so we made monsters. They are referred to as Jaegers, which is German for hunter. The monsters are referred to as kaiju, which is Japanese for monster or beast.
And that's your language lesson for the day.
There
You're
you
welcome.
But many consider this to be an underrated gem,
Facts.
and me watching it, I'm a huge fan of the monster movie genre. King Kong, 1933, Gojira, 1954. It's one of my favorite all-time genres to watch. So when this came out, I was super excited to get a modern-day monster movie because the effects back then were not the best. Although there is kind of a, sweetness about watching them just for nostalgia reasons.
Timeless.
But
Yeah.
watching good CGI, because this is 1 year after like Avengers, so all this, like the technology of then was pretty decent movie-wise.
Yeah, I was going to say, you over in the corner are going to be our resident expert on everything Eastern culture, anime, mecha movies,
Not
Pacific
only
Rim.
just kind of the movie expert. I think
mean,
Diego is the movie expert.
Probably. I mean, you're probably right. But I can't say, like, I've never actually really watched Pacific Rim. Isn't John Boyega one of the...
No, that's the second one.
Okay, well, I didn't know.
That's in the sequel. He plays the
Is there
son
any-
of Pentecost. who
Okay,
is-
so there's a bit of continuity, but are they kind of connected?
it's a direct sequel, but I can.
I think it's a severe downgrade in quality.
Most people do not like the second one as much,
So-
which is very complicated issues of why.
But it's kind of like a Jurassic Park to a Jurassic World.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Connected, but also standalone. It's a remaster, you could say.
You could say.
almost just like us.
Just like us.
But going into this, revitalizing the monster movie genre, because after this we get King Kong Skull Island, we get the Godzilla trilogy coming out next year, King Kong vs. Godzilla. So seeing like the modern day moviegoer be interested in a monster movie was really exciting, because me who goes and watches all the old ones, to see like my friend Mason Wickett, who probably isn't as big of a fan, be excited and want to talk about it. That's like joy to the monster movie fan community.
Yeah. No, if you don't have anything, well, I know you have more to say, but I absolutely love Pacific Rim. It is one of my favorite movies. It's
Wow.
such a guilty pleasure. I'll admit it has a lot of flaws, but I don't care just because I like seeing things that are tall beat each other up.
I mean, that's kind of the best part.
It
Like,
really is.
I haven't seen it, but it's fine if it's and I could be wrong, but a turn your brain off and enjoy movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm not saying like Marvel movies are the same, though people like to describe them as such. But I love Marvel movies, and like they don't have to like Endgame is what I love. Endgame.
Yeah.
And the time travel stuff is pretty wacky and doesn't make sense, but it doesn't have to because it's fun.
It's basically like that in the second Austin Powers movie when they're like, "Don't worry about it."
Yeah.
Look directly at the camera. We
Well,
told you not to worry about it.
Yeah, it's fine because it's just fun, and if
Yeah.
you don't have to turn your brain off, like I think that's kind of disingenuous, but you don't have to overthink it either, and that's the beauty of it. It's just plain fun. Again, simplicity can equal,
Yeah.
just better.
Well, the director of the movie, like, before it came out, they're like, oh, what's this movie going to be about? He's like, this is a simple, giant robots are awesome, monsters are awesome, get on the screen and watch them fight.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's a Del Toro movie.
Yeah.
Guillermo Del Toro is a fantastic director,
For sure.
like world-renowned. And it's got Idris Elba in it, Charlie Day, Ron Perlman. It's got a pretty all-star cast.
Charlie Hunnam.
Yeah.
Charlie Hunnam, that was one of the reasons I wanted to see it, was because he starred in a TV show called Sons of Anarchy, which is really good. My dad and I watched
biker
that.
show, yeah.
Yeah, it's really good. He's the main character of that, and he's also probably the main character of Pacific Rim. And, you know, just seeing actors you recognize up on screen, like, it just makes the movie that much more enjoyable.
For a simple movie to have like these big name actors, and like the acting or the human part of it is definitely not as important.
Yeah.
But I will say each of these actors, they brought their A game for this.
Oh, absolutely.
So while not necessarily the writing isn't most in depth or the most drama filled, it gives you good acting, I would say.
So I will push a question on to you guys. What does, since again I haven't seen them, what does the second movie do better or worse from the first, and which one do you think is better, objectively?
I'll give some credit to the second movie. In the second movie, there are two of the Jaeger, the big giant skyscraping robots.
And there's John Boyega.
Right.
I like John Boyega.
I love him too. He's fantastic. They do have the two robots fight each other, which is something I really wanted to see and thought would be really cool to see after watching the first movie, and it delivered on that. It didn't happen for very long or very often, but when it did happen, it was pretty cool.
Well, the second one's problem is it was very similar to the first, but it lacked that like freshness.
Yeah.
One, they lost some actors due to the movie or due to conflicts, but
Sure.
basically it seemed more upbeat, I guess, because the first Pacific Rim's a very dark toned movie. You know, it's almost semi-scary how the universe or the world they live in, constant fear of monsters. The second one kind of delves almost Power Ranger-esque, I would say.
Yeah.
That's kind of the vibe I get from it, like the giant mecha thing, like a
Yeah, I suppose.
T-Force Power Ranger thing, whatever they're called.
I'll give the sequel credit for not being afraid to go bigger and better. Like, they didn't really hold back.
Yeah.
It's just, I feel like people so close of a sequel, people wanted more from it. Like, they wanted something that was completely different, and they basically just got the same thing, just amped up to 11.
I mean, it was a 5-year gap. It went from 2013 to 2018, which seemed kind of weird because I thought Uprising was a little older than that, but March 23rd, 2018, it's relatively new.
I will say, I think if the second one came out sooner to the release of the first one, I think it probably would have been received better.
But then it also might have been called a cash grab if it had not been received as well as, like, Diego had valid points. Like, the vibe I got from you is that you certainly thought the first one was a superior movie.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Or at least you enjoyed it more.
Wholesale, I think the first one's a superior movie. You have the writing is essentially better. While not a great written movie, it's still better than the second one.
It's fun.
Right,
we already agreed, consensus, that it's kind of a dumb fun movie.
The choreography of the fights, so much better. It has a way of keeping you entertained because it's basically mostly fights with a little bit of acting in between.
You're talking about the first one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, there's a lot of on-screen time, and this is a big budget movie.
Yeah.
They didn't hold back on having the monsters out there fighting for wholesale minutes. Like, there's a whole minute where not much dialogue is spoken. I'm pretty sure it's like 5 minutes of just straight fighting.
That's cool.
Well, okay, before I get into something that's just like makes my nerd brain shoot copious amounts of dopamine out.
Okay. Good way to put it.
Yeah. The Charlie Hunnam, the main character, has I just bumped the mic. His chemistry with his co-star is not spectacular, which is some of the reason the movie gets dumped on a little bit. But what I wanted to say was, like, it's just, like I said, it's such dumb fun. Like, when he grabs the boat and beats the monster, like, that's like 10 minutes of action, almost no dialogue, and he does that, and it's just like, you didn't have to give me that.
I wish there was a whole movie of this.
I wish there was a whole movie. You didn't have to do that.
And when he
but
pulls
you
out
did.
the sword in the middle of the air.
That's really wholesome.
It really is.
And one thing I will give the first one credit is their ability to build a world.
Yes, absolutely.
Like, this is wholesale, like, 5 years after the first kaiju hit. Or, it's even longer than that, I'm pretty sure. You really feel these people are living in this world where giant monsters wrecking their cities is just part of daily life.
Like, when people are like, well, I could probably just take a job building that big wall, that's something that people would do. You just like, well, it's not my first choice, but I mean, it's just something I could do.
Okay, so to finish the discussion and wrap it up, something we forgot to do for the first section in the game of the week, but I want to ask you, would you recommend it, and who would you recommend it to if so? Pacific Rim 1 and 2?
Pacific Rim 1 is especially, but 2 kind of lumps into that. Anyone just looking for a good time, they want to see amazing music. The composer is really great for this movie. Simple action. If they just want a solid, fun, blockbuster type movie, I would say watch that. You get a whole bunch of different diversity. My favorite is Cherno Alpha, which is the Russian Jaeger, for anyone wondering.
Oh, that's the Phase 1.
That's the original.
Yeah.
There's different grades, and he's
Yes.
the only one that's Phase 1 left. Just a brutal tank war
Yeah.
machine.
Yeah.
So I would definitely recommend people at least watch it once. Like I'm going to say Tanner, one of these days,
Yeah,
we're
I
going to
will
sit
add it
down
to
and
my
watch
list.
it.
I definitely want to go back and watch it right now because
we can watch it sometime this weekend. We still got tomorrow left, so we're recording on Saturday as we speak.
And one with last thing I want to say about it is how creative it is. Like you were talking about the different phases of Jaeger. Like there's one, because they're manned by 2 people, but there's one that's manned by 3 people, Chinese triplets or something, and they have 3 arms.
Crimson Typhoon.
Crimson Typhoon, yeah. It's just so creative, I love it.
All right.
That's all I have to say.
Well, we add Pacific Rim to our watch list, and everyone out there, you can do the same. I'm sure we'll be watching it sometime soon. And that is going to wrap up our first section of the show. With that, is going to take us straight into another commercial break, and today's pick will be Mason's now. Mason, what have you got in the billing?
Behold a Pale Horse from Halo 3.
Halo 3, and of course, on this podcast, we stan Marty O'Donnell.
Yes.
We'll be back to finish the fight in section 2 of the show right after this. Welcome back to the Entertainment Hour on the Alternative Edge with Tanner Frost, Mason Wickett, and Diego Huerta. The song you just heard for our second commercial break was Behold a Pale Horse from Halo 3, actually a remix of On a Pale Horse from Halo Combat Evolved, released in 2001, Halo 3, of course, 2007, and that was Mason's pick. And actually, it would have been one of my picks, too.
Yeah.
Of course, we absolutely love Halo 3 on this podcast, and let's hear why you picked Behold a Pale Horse.
Behold a Pale Horse is one of those moments in gaming that will forever stick out in my mind because we were talking about this during the break. You like the beginning of that song more than the Forward Unto Dawn part. I mean, the entire song is a masterpiece in and of itself.
Absolutely.
But, like...
So is the composer.
Well, yes. But the part when the dawn is entering atmosphere and the music starts playing, like, just keeps building up and building up, nothing's ever going to beat that, you know? It just...
One of my favorite parts of that scene is it's on the Ark in Halo 3, and the Forward Unto Dawn is a giant spaceship, to put it lightly for people who are a bit out of the loop here for certain. It comes into orbit, and it does a really low fly, about 100 feet off the ground, which for a spaceship the size of the size of the university, basically, is a bit of a high-tech maneuver, if you want to call it that. And Master Chief, your player character, is stood perfectly still as it happens while tanks and debris around him are floating away and just being thrown about everywhere. It's just a testament to, like, wow, I'm playing this dude, and this is a real Chad.
He
Master
really
Chief
is.
That's one of the moments that cement Master Chief is just the ultimate BA.
Yeah, you know, it gives me goosebumps every time.
Yeah, and you talk about the part, like, you like the triumphant horns when they come in, about a minute 20 through the song. I actually, when I think of Behold a Pale Horse, I like listening to the opening.
Oh, yeah, so do I.
I certainly love the part you're talking about, and the song's about 5 minutes total, and it's all really good. But the violins that start coming in, when it first plays an Assault in the Control Room in Halo CE, like I said, it's not really the interesting thing about Halo 3 and the soundtrack is there's not a whole lot of original tracks, but a lot of them are remixed and remastered, from Halo CE and Halo 2. And they're kind of mishmashed together, and Marty O'Donnell and Michael Salvatore,
our Lord and Savior.
He really is. I love Marty O'Donnell. He does a fantastic job in every game he works on.
Yes.
And, of course, we like all the games that he's worked on, of course. But that moment in CE when you're crossing the bridges in Assault in the Control Room is so cool, and it's just enunciated by the music. And it's just, like, again, any part of the song, it's like Star Wars because a lot of songs are used in different parts of the movie. You never really get. It's interesting because you never really get like a full flow of a song. It's always chopped and used in different places in a movie or a game or film or whatnot.
Yeah.
But it shows really how like two beautiful pieces that work well together can be used in two separate instances with two different effects as well.
Yeah. And it's like he just knows exactly which beats to hit, exactly which notes to play to just,
I know it's a bold statement, but he really is like on the level of John Williams.
Oh,
and John Williams
absolutely.
is absolutely revered across the entire industry and is one of the best of the best ever.
It goes John Williams, Marty O'Donnell. If not, they're on the same playing field.
I would like to see those two score something together. Imagine that.
I
and then
can't.
Jack Wall from Mass Effect is another one that's
Yeah.
like almost on their level too. It's like a tier system, and those three together
I
might just make my
couldn't
head
even
explode.
imagine that, yeah.
That's like my sci-fi trifecta:
Yeah.
Mass Effect, Star Wars, and Halo.
Yeah, absolutely.
The world's not ready for that.
world's
I'm
not
not ready
ready.
for that. Actually, I am certainly absolutely ready for that, but I might like die of euphoria if that would ever happen.
Yeah, to be honest.
Mass Effect Remastered, please. Any point EA release. You can have my money this time. Okay, let's talk about another retro rewind. This is going to be Mason's, and actually you can consider this a co-retro rewind because I don't have one this week. This is what I've been looking forward to all podcasts.
Yes.
Let's hear it.
Wii Sports.
Wii Sports.
Wii Sports. I am so excited to talk about this because Wii Sports was such a big part of my childhood growing up. And Tanner, I assume you too. Diego, did you ever play Wii Sports growing up?
I played a little bit. I didn't get huge into games until late, but I would go with my friends. And
That's the thing, though. It's not even like a game. It's more like a tech test of Wii
Yeah.
Sports. But the thing, like, okay, I was pulling it up. I got to put it in. Takes it back, doesn't it?
It does. Man, I'm back at Grandma's house.
It's like a soundboard. I'm back at my house. I played Wii Sports with my family. Wii Sports is like the ultimate, just a game. It really is like throwing back to old. It's a Nintendo game, and I'm gonna reference it to other Nintendo games. It's like Mario. Like you drop in and 1-1, you know what to do. Like there's tutorials and stuff.
It's timeless.
But it's motion controls.
Yeah.
And it's practical and real world application is the thing. Like you're gonna play tennis. How do you swing a tennis racket? Everyone just goes as fast as possible. It's the noise it makes when everyone. Diego knows exactly what we're talking about because we played last fall. You just do it as fast as possible. It's tennis, golf, boxing, baseball, and bowling. It kind of their purest forms, but that's what makes them so fun.
Yeah.
And I want to hear like our personal picks for each game.
Yeah, Tanner, why don't you start us off? What's your favorite?
Baseball. I really like the baseball.
You're a
game.
baseball guy.
I mean, yeah. In general, I'm a baseball guy, but there is one of like my most favorite sound effects in video games is the satisfying hit when you connect with the baseball in Wii Sports. It's really, really satisfying, except when Matt camps under it, and we'll talk about Matt in just a little bit.
Yeah,
Matt is foreboding.
Matt
this whole
deserves
time.
a category all on his own.
Okay, what is yours, Mason? Favorite game?
It's weird because probably bowling, because bowling was a rite of passage in my family. My brother was about 6 years old when he became pro. I never got pro, and
Just 1,000 skill points for those who are uninitiated. I think everyone's played Wii Sports. Has probably listened to this at some
absolutely.
point, or at least knows what it is.
At some point you've played Wii Sports. But bowling is, I love it so much and I hate it so much because, like I said, my brother got pro. I never got pro. He got pro at 6 years old. He just knew what to do. I could never grasp it, but I tried so hard, and I came so far, but in the end, didn't even matter.
It's very poetic.
It is.
Is that a reference?
sounds almost like a
No.
song.
I know. It sounds very familiar. Like you'd
Kind of
sing
like
at
a-
a park or something.
Walk
With
in
a guy
the
named
park,
Lincoln.
you'd listen
Like a
to that.
Lincoln Park, like with Abe.
Yeah. Diego, what's your favorite?
Wait, first, before we move off of bowling real quick, Diego is going to be our sound effects guy. Let's hear the noise you make when you throw the bowling ball backwards.
I don't remember.
Whoa!
Wah!
And they spin around.
Yeah, that's classic. That's
Yeah.
all time. I'm just nostalgia trip real quick. I used to have like one of those like video game cheat ultimate gamer guidebooks,
yeah.
like one of those like the clickbait titles, basically.
Yep.
Like modern BuzzFeed that were like really small, and in the Wii Sports it'd tell you like it's not even a cheat, but like reach pro and you get a different colored bowling ball. Like throw the ball backwards. And I'm like,
Oh.
wow.
Wait, that changes your ball color?
Yeah, if you get pro in anything, you get like a different colored tennis
Oh,
racket.
I know.
Like,
I know in bowling because of my brother that it has like diamonds on it or something, and I wanted those diamonds. So
yeah, exactly.
badly.
Yeah, it's a diamond bowling ball. All right, Diego, what is your favorite Wii Sports game?
See, while I didn't get too much into Wii Sports later in life, me and my friends, we would settle our arguments with Wii Sports boxing.
Oh, damn.
They wanted the last donut that my mom bought. All right, let's get on Wii Sports, and we're going to fight, and we're going to see who wins. And I got decent at it for a little bit, so I always got the last donut.
Nice.
Therefore, I always loved doing Wii boxing.
If I could say something about that, I'll never forget the time one of my best friends and I, because my Wii was at, or I guess our Wii was at my grandma's house, and we would go over there about 2 times a week just to play the Wii. And one of my friends and I, we went over there one night, and we were playing boxing till the wee hours of the morning. And I think,
I get it.
hey, nice. Didn't even mean to do that, but
Sure.
we played.
Hey, again.
Ourselves played.
Okay.
Like I said, to all hours of the night, and I think we dropped about 15 pounds that night because we were sweating profusely from playing boxing, trying to get pro. We never got there, but we were taking it seriously. You know, I would like hype him up, he would hype me up. We in between the rounds, he'd like grab a towel, I'd get him some water. It was a thing.
And then Matt shows up.
And then Matt shows up.
Well, before we get to Matt, the fun fact about boxing is the first bourgeoisie video game sport. Because if you don't have a nunchuck and you're poor, you don't get to play boxing.
It's true.
Every other game is just the Wiimote.
The bourgeoisie, huh?
Yeah, well, you have to be rich to play Wii boxing. It's pack-in.
You're not
And
wrong.
speaking of being rich, Nintendo certainly had a hit with Wii Sports. It was the best-selling game on a single platform ever, with 83 million sales for the Wii
gosh.
alone. But to be fair, the Wii and Wii Sports was like a cultural phenomenon.
Oh, yeah.
At the time, and I mean for the entire year. I remember my mom, actually, God bless her, was like at our Walmart in Boone, like late, standing in line to get a Wii because they were like pretty cheap relatively. Yeah. They came with Wii Sports and like you could buy Wii Play for another $40 plus a Wiimote, which I think everyone also did too. And she got it, and because I just remember it was that big of a thing. Like she went out and she waited. And my whole family played Wii Sports. I mean, I love Wii Sports. It's still actually very fun to play.
Yeah.
But it's crazy because it's just under Grand Theft Auto and Tetris.
Oh my goodness, really?
Yeah. So I think
Tetris will never be broken.
Right, but the thing is, Tetris is on Tetris as a franchise counts as a game. So like every iteration.
Yeah.
Which is really weird.
Yeah.
I don't think that really should count, though it does in official lists. But again, Wii Sports, like a single console, it's number 4. Sorry, Minecraft is never ever going to be topped. It's 200 million.
Yeah.
GTA 5, which is on about 7 consoles now, 6th generation or 7th and 8th generation
Been
plus
out
PC.
for a billion years.
Right,
too.
it's going to be on the PS5, a launch title. Which
is it really?
It is. That was one of the first things they announced at the PS5
that makes me a little
conference.
frustrated. I'm not gonna lie.
It's kind of weird. Rockstar certainly probably. I mean, they have the money to promote
Just
that.
move on.
But Wii Sports is number 4. PUBG is number 5. Ooh. That's the worst game on that list for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
At least it's not Fortnite.
Well, you can't buy Fortnite's the problem. Otherwise, I'm sure Fortnite would probably pretty single-handedly be 2 above GTA.
Wii Sports was a launch title. Like, it came with the Wii.
Right, that's what I'm saying. It was a pack-in with a Wii, but everyone had a Wii anyways.
Okay.
Like, because every copy of a Wii you bought, aside from like really later models, had Wii Sports come with it, and that's why everyone it counted as a sale is the thing.
Huh.
But that's like what I'm talking about is the cultural phenomenon is you get one, you get the other, and that just also shows how much the Wii sold in like the short time of its height.
Yeah. No, it was really successful. And
absolutely.
Like the Wii U, I mean, not as successful, but the Switch, very successful. But
So
I think,
far,
out of those 3, would you say the Wii is probably the best selling?
Yeah, easily. Yeah. I think the Switch is actually closing in on it. I mean, Nintendo titles as they go, the NES sold a lot.
Yeah.
But I don't think the Wii will ever be topped. I mean, the Game Boy Advance did pretty good. DS's did. DS was another one. Like mid 2000s Nintendo was
game.
Obviously not.
A-game.
Well, I mean, not game wise and not like phenomenon wise or culturally wise, because that probably was their beginning and kind of modern day Nintendo with the reach they have. But that was certainly their sales wise, because every kid in the world had a DS, and every family in the world had a Wii. It absolutely crazy.
DS
Okay.
was the new Game Boy back
Yeah, I mean, it was.
Yeah,
It was
for
the
sure.
successor.
Well, it lasted a long time
Oh,
too.
we're going to talk about the DS. Don't worry about that. 3DS came out in 2012.
Let's
The
not get too far
There's
into
a 7-year lifespan for the DS. That's pretty long
That's
for
pretty
modern
long, yeah.
consoles. Okay.
it. Well, even for a handheld, you know.
yeah, we've been putting it off.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later.
We-
Don't worry. That's going to be Tanner's thing.
We've been avoiding him.
Yeah.
Matt.
We've been scared.
We've been scared of
Matt,
Matt.
yes.
Who is Matt?
I don't even want to talk. I'm afraid he's going to come into this room.
I'm afraid he's like searching for us. He can hear. If you utter his very name, he knows. He can feel it. Matt is the ultimate boss of Wii Sports. Jokingly and also not. That guy is a powerhouse. He's like, his Mii character is like one of the generic ones they have in Wii Sports. And he's a bald African American guy. And he is like the ultimate test. He is, like, especially in boxing, he's like the Mike Tyson in Super Punch Out of Wii Sports. He's crazy. I'm afraid of Matt. We played Matt against tennis. I'm pretty sure he whipped us.
Probably.
For sure.
He's never lost any Wii Sport
Probably
ever.
not. I'm sure if there's like global records like there is nowadays in Wii Sports, Matt would have the all-time win
He'd have
percentage.
for all of them.
Yeah, because it'd just be 100. You know.
The reason Thanos took so long to come to Earth is because he had to wait for the Wii to die down because Matt was still around.
Matt was
Because if
waiting.
Matt was still around, you know Thanos is not getting that stone.
No, he's going to crawl out of the Wii and probably take all 6 Infinity Gems for himself.
He doesn't even need those.
Well, we'll put this out there. The Avengers was Thanos' first appearance in 2012. The Wii U released in 2012. So the Wii effectively died. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
it goes together. It fits in pretty well. Okay, let's move on. Let's talk about the movie of the week, and this was Diego's idea, I think. We're going to talk about Justice League, but not specifically Justice League because that's a bit of old news, even though nothing against old news on this podcast. We're going to talk about the Snyder Cut. So, Diego, you want to explain like I'm 5 out of the loop Snyder Cut to the fans?
All right. Well, I'm sure many of you at least heard that Justice League came out. I want to say
2017.
2017?
Yes, it was.
Well, 2017 Justice League came out, and it was them trying to compete with the Avengers and Marvel. You know, they're trying to get in on the cash, basically. What came out, because they had to do so many reshoots, because the director was not allowed to do his artistic representation, what came out was such filtered garbage. Like, the movie itself, I mean, there's some redeeming qualities here and there, but moreover, it's just a simple cash grab that's not fun.
It's pretty universally regarded as not a great movie, and I'll agree with that.
And like Diego was saying, it has a lot of studio tampering, which is very common for a lot of DC movies, actually, like Suicide Squad or I can't even think of another one. I'm sure Batman vs. Superman probably had some studio tampering.
Well, again, directed by Zack Snyder,
Yeah.
and that was supposed to have a director's cut that was supposed to save the movie.
Yeah.
But you can't save a movie if it's not going to be good in the first place.
Right.
Like, I don't get it.
Well, here's the thing, because Snyder, basically, he said the original movie he planned was a much darker, much more action-packed movie, and what started off as kind of a meme of release the Snyder Cut, which is basically they wanted to release the original version Zack Snyder had in mind. Zack Snyder, my bad. I don't know, I said Jack.
Yeah, I was wondering what you were saying.
You're fine, go on.
Anyway, Zack Snyder, you know, he had this original idea, and what started off as just kind of a meme as a joke became this big idea of studios tampering with directors' artistic representations. You know, how far are they going to change things for money, and why don't they just let these directors, these authors, these writers give the creative freedom? Because most of them are big fans. Zack Snyder's a huge fan of DC, you know, the Justice League itself, and it looks like we're going to eventually get this Zack Snyder cut, which, one, I've heard rumors is over 3 hours long. Not only do you get the original, I forget the villain's name.
It was Steppenwolf.
His original design, which is far superior than the one we got in the movie.
Yeah, the movie was kind of a CGI fest.
Yeah.
And you're actually getting Darkseid in potentially either Batman's dream or in the flashback. Like the flashback where Steppenwolf is killing a Green Lantern and fighting the Amazons.
Oh, wow.
That's going to be Darkseid and not Steppenwolf. So Superman's going to get his black suit, which anybody wanted, which is far superior than his current one. And he's not going to have the awful CGI face because of his mustache.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Flash is going to have more development. There's going to be a scene where he's in the Speed Force. Basically, the original vision that Zack Snyder had in mind is what we're gonna get, and many fans like me are excited because it's true fans making fan movies for fans.
Yeah.
I mean, he doesn't. He has a nice resume, Zack Snyder, but I don't understand why people expect him to save a movie that he. Like, I understand studio tampering, but he could have also made a better movie in general. It was his child, but he made Batman vs Superman, awful acclaim. People did not like it. Man of Steel, widely criticized, even though it was considered a decent
enjoyed
movie,
it.
but it was also widely criticized. Right. I mean, I'm not saying. I don't think he's got 300. He's got Dawn of the Dead, and he's got Watchmen on his list. Those are 3 really good movies. I mean, okay, 300 is a good movie. The other 2 really good movies.
Yeah.
But like on his list, that's it. In his actual directorial roles, that's all he's got. And Watchmen came out in 2009, and as good as it is, it was also criticized for being deviant from the comics, as everyone loves the comics of Watchmen. I just don't think. I know people want him to save this movie, and I know people wanted it to be good in the first place, which is why I think like DC fans have obviously haven't had their day yet in box office aside from Wonder Woman and on cinema. But
Aquaman.
I mean,
I like Aquaman.
Aquaman was good, but it's also not a top tier though. Is the problem?
Right.
They still have yet something to rival what Marvel has had rolling for years and years now, over a decade. But I think there's just too much expectation, and it's more that people want it to be good, but I don't think it's going to fix anything. It might be a better movie, but Justice League still was very mediocre at best.
Yeah. And what I want to say about DC versus Marvel, Marvel has been very well represented in the movies and media recently. DC, a lot of people say I'm just not into DC because their heroes aren't as good, which is completely incorrect. They're just not. They have not been as well represented, and DC has incredibly complex characters. And another thing about that is that people are kind of looking at superheroes just as crime fighters now, which kind of irritates me because one of my guilty pleasures, I would say, in movies is watching superheroes save people. And if you really pay attention to movies, there's just not a lot of that, Like in Justice League and Batman vs. Superman, I mean, Batman's just a crime fighter. I don't think I ever have seen him save an actual person. He cares about life. Like, he doesn't kill because he cares about life.
Well, that was why Man of Steel was criticized, because Superman causes so much widespread destruction, which turns into a plot point later, but he was focused on fighting Zod. It wasn't a whole lot of... Like, Henry Cavill was wasted as Superman. He is fit for the role.
Yeah.
Honestly, he looks like him. I think he's got the swagger to be him.
Yep.
But the directors have never let him flourish. In all 3 of his movies, directed by Zack Snyder, I think he wasted him.
Yeah. Well, they've all got the larger than life aspect that the Marvel people have. Like RDJ, Chris Evans, Chris Hemsworth. They're all just larger than life. And Henry Cavill, how do you pronounce it? Cavill, he's got that larger than life. He's such an amazing actor, such an amazing guy. But like you said, the directors just don't let him have it.
Well, part of that is, and kind of a spoiler for a future section, is when it comes to DC, the unoriginal storytelling. How many times do you get a Batman story? How many times do you get the same Superman? They're like... What is it? Their fear of doing something different is what's holding them back, and that's the problem with Batman v Superman. Zack Snyder wanted it to be a darker Crimson movie. He wanted to change it so it's not a Marvel ripoff. He wanted to make a darker version of superhero movies, and they held him back. They changed it to be more upbeat, be more lighthearted, so the kids will like it, and that's kind of the big thing with Justice League. And I'll tell you, Justice League... It's still going to disappoint everybody. It will be better than the original.
The Snyder Cut specifically.
The Snyder Cut will be better than the original. It's still going to disappoint everybody because it's still not going to be what people want. And the problem is people are overhyping a movie. Same thing happened to Age of Ultron. They're making a movie that has an image better in their head than it will be in life.
Right.
Okay, Diego, that's a good jumping off point until our 3rd commercial break and what's on the horizon, basically, for the final arc of our show. We've got one more segment before we go, but first, we also have one more song. So, Diego, your pick of the day is going to be...
Road to Viridian, Route 1, Pokemon Red, Blue, and Green.
And this is the original version for those who are the purist. We'll be back on the Entertainment Hour just after this commercial break. Part 3 of Season 3, the remaster of the Entertainment Hour. This is the final act of the trilogy, and that was the final commercial break / song for the day, picked by Diego Huerta, our resident, anime Eastern culture expert. I was going to say Pokemon expert, but I would say we're equal footing there. But why Road to Viridian City, the original specifically? I want to hear this.
Well, when Tanner comes to me and he's like, pick a song that nostalgic for you or makes a big impact on you video game wise or entertainment wise, this is always one of the first that pops into my head. It's always this or the anime, like the first opening intro.
That'll be in there, don't worry, we'll get to that one.
I went back and forth. I basically tossed a coin. This one, because not only did it come first, it is the most Pokemon, like whenever someone does a Pokemon video on YouTube, they always include this one.
Oh yeah, it's a classic. Have you ever played the original?
Oh yeah, I did. Back original Game Boy.
Honestly, not a great game.
I wouldn't say it's a great game. I think the nostalgia that we all feel for it definitely outweighs the actual gameplay. No, I love
it. I'm not saying I don't love it, but it is a rather broken game with a lot of technical glitches and battle exploits. Because
for sure.
I absolutely love it though. I am dissing it, but just saying, it's hard to kind of go back and play through. Also, it's a really hard game, to be fair.
Oh, for sure.
At this time, but
whenever you hear this song, it brings you back to when you're a little kid and you first discovered this amazing world. And while people like Mason may not like it as much, the amount of money it made, the amount of people it inspired, the amount of people it touched, I guess, like it is the most successful like media franchise there is.
It is. It is actually the most successful media franchise like of all time. Pokemon revenue is like 70% merchandising, which is crazy because it pulls in a couple $100 billion a year. Well, I mean, it's absolutely insane how much Pokemon makes.
We all collected cards. We all had
I have a binder full of cards.
Oh yeah, and all that stems from basically listening to this one song and starting Pokemon.
Yeah, I love Pokemon as a franchise, and I'm sure we're going to have a resident Pokemon debate, us two versus Wickett at some time, because he's a bit of a resident Pokemon hater on this podcast.
No, I don't hate Pokemon. It's just not my thing.
Well, we'll talk about that later. That's a different debate for a different day. So, on the horizon is going to be our last segment of the day, and on the horizon, looming in the distance, is a man's jaw, and it's pristine. It's Robert Pattinson's, and he's got the jaw to fill the Batman role. So we were just talking about Justice League, the Snyder Cut, and how we think some of the heroes of DC have been misrepresented. What do we think Robert Pattinson can do in the Batman? And he's taking on the Riddler this time. Ooh. So the trailer just came out. Yeah, have you watched the trailer
I
yet?
haven't seen it yet.
Okay, well, the Batman is coming out. Diego, I think you wanted to take the lead on this. What do we want out of a new Batman movie? Because this is going to be probably the fifth origin story we've had since 2000 already. And obviously, origin story, cookie cutter formula is something we were talking about. Some people are very tired of. It's got to be new. It's got to be distinct. But it's going to be a challenge. How would you make the Batman? And what do you know about it? Do you think it's going to let it stand out?
Well, keeping with the theme, I think that you'd... Sorry, did I interrupt?
Oh, we said...
Go ahead,
you're fine. Go ahead.
Say what you want.
You're fine.
Well, keeping with the theme, you were saying, like, it has to be new, fresh, and everything, but it also doesn't have to be super complex.
I'm not saying that.
Yeah, no, I know you're not saying that. It's just maybe a simple, nice little origin story would be pretty cool, but, put a nice little twist on it. That's all. That's just what I wanted to say about that.
Well, I wholeheartily disagree.
Oh!
Because if people got tired of a third Spider-Man origin story, this is the sixth Batman origin story, you said? And they're going to do... People got tired after the third Spider-Man. So my opinion on what you do is you trash this movie, make a completely different movie. If you want to know what I would say, throw this in the garbage can, make it Batman Beyond, have him play the next Batman. You get Michael Keaton to play old Bruce Wayne. You do Return of the Joker. And who do you play the Joker? Finally, being live action is Mark Hamill.
Yes.
Because not only is he the definitive Joker voice, you finally get to see him be live action.
Well, okay, so that's what we want, and obviously we'd love to see Batman Beyond. People really like Batman Beyond, and again, underrated considering how little kind of love it gets in the media and like the Batman mainstream. But I mean, as much as I'd love to see Michael Keaton. Okay, before we go back, I actually am interested in this. Who would you cast as Terry for Batman Beyond movie?
Terry,
the Batman.
Robert Pattinson. I think you'd make a great Batman Beyond.
Well, I think he's too old though. Isn't Batman Beyond Terry like 18?
I'm pretty sure he's like young 20s, if I remember.
Oh, yeah,
but
you're gonna have to catch me up. I don't think I've.
I
seen
think.
Batman
I mean,
Beyond.
there's a picture because I saw someone else say this on Twitter. Sorry, I hit the mic.
You're fine.
Someone did it side by side. It doesn't look that far off. I think he could pull it off, and they've not been afraid to age up characters in movies before.
Right.
So not only was Robert Downey Jr. an old guy to play a young Tony Stark, I think they could pull it off. So I think they'd get him to do it. I think Michael Keaton, although Michael Keaton is coming back in the Flash sequel for anyone who's interested in that.
You're gonna have to catch me up. Who's Terry?
Batman Beyond. Do you know what it is?
The new Batman.
Batman. That's when he comes back when he's like 100.
No,
not 100.
you're thinking of The Dark Knight Returns. Batman Beyond is about like 40 years, so it's actually the same universe as the Batman animated series.
Yeah.
Was
No, I know
so
what Batman
good.
with the black like sleek suit.
Yeah,
and red,
that's Terry.
red eyes. Or
That's
whatever.
the
His
guy
name
who
is Terry. It's not Bruce Wayne being Batman.
Bruce
Oh.
Wayne is his mentor. It's like 50 years
See,
after.
I thought you were talking about the comic where Batman comes back, but
That's the Dark Knight Returns.
right, and that's
Yeah.
that's
Which
phenomenal.
they've already
Amazing,
kind of taken that into it in Batman vs Superman.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I
well,
noticed they did
the
something
fight
like
scene
that.
inspiration is like
Yeah.
from it, but they also made direct-to-DV videos of The Dark Knight Returns, which I have both parts of, and it's really good.
Right.
Actually, it's a good adaptation.
Yeah, Michael Keaton playing old Bruce Wayne, not only because he played Batman before, I think he could pull it off really well.
In 1980,
And it would be a new, fresh story. Mark Hamill finally gets his justice he never got. Get it, Justice League. Let's see what I did there.
Hey, but you want to bring back Michael Keaton, but you don't want to bring back Jack Nicholson?
I thought about making him, but I'm more of a fan of Mark Hamill than
I
I am
am
of Jack
too. I'm
Nicholson.
just saying,
for
it's
sure.
like if you want to keep continuity, Jack Nicholson still got work to do. He's still
I
around
mean,
for sure.
I'll take Jack Nicholson as Return of the Joker as well. I'll take that as well. But I figured Mark Hamill because not only did he do great in the Arkham games and in the old animated ones.
The best. I just love Mark Hamill in general. I
Yeah,
don't
me
care
too.
what he
He's
does.
such a good person.
He is. I
love him.
love Mark Hamill.
Oh, Diego, you made me sad now because I know that's never gonna happen. But it'd be so.
How much more excited would you be for that movie versus this
Oh,
one?
for sure.
And
Are you
nothing
kidding me?
against this one.
Yeah.
I think it could be, even if it's good, I just think it's not going to be as successful because how many times we got a Batman story?
Yeah, you're right.
But in their defense, Ben Affleck, who I think is a great Batman,
I think he is too.
they did something different with him by making him older, kind of, I'm over being Batman, I
Yeah.
kill people now, and people hated it.
Yeah.
So I can see their timidness about doing something else. They're like, well, if they want the original Batman, we'll give them the original Batman.
Yeah, it's a hard situation they're in
Yeah.
now.
Well, we have yet to see because there's only been one trailer released for the Batman. There's a lot left to come. It's coming out October 1st of 2021, so it's still over a year and 26 days out, and then we can reserve judgment till then. But it's going to be Batman in his second year. I'm excited about that. It's kind of like the Batman Year One comic is, I think, where they've taken more inspiration from, which is something that has not been adapted to movie form aside from like Batman Begins, which it's a little different take. It's the first time he's back, but a more rookie Batman facing new enemies for the first time instead of seeing them before. I'm excited for it, and it's kind of a shame we haven't gotten recent Batman with actual Batman villains, but I think the Riddler is a good one to start off with for sure.
Now, in that situation, would you want Terry to face on old and griddled villains or new and fresh villains?
Well, I think that's the good part about Batman Beyond is it's kind of a mix of both. I think Mr. Freeze comes back a couple
it's
times.
kind of like the legacy of the old villains as well as the legacy that Batman.
It's
both
mostly. I mean,
continue.
there's like it's mobs based around the Joker and his legacy and
Right.
whatnot, like a lot of tie-ins do and everything.
So kind of like a...
It's mostly a new cast, but it's nice also because it's kind of like Legend of Korra to Avatar, where a lot of callbacks and old people, old members show up basically, and it's more not fan service, but cameos and whatnot. But
So kind of like an Arkham Knight story. Well, or I guess atmosphere, not story.
No, I'm just the point I'm trying to make is it's mainly focused on a new set of villains with old ones returning every so often.
Oh, okay,
as kind of as to show it's still a connected universe, basically.
I understand.
So
Also, the Penguin's going to be in this movie. I don't know if anyone else talked about that yet.
Oh.
yeah, so is
You're getting
Catwoman.
the Riddler,
Colin
Catwoman,
Farrell is
and
going to play the Penguin. Zoe Kravitz is going to play Selena Kyle / Catwoman.
I'm excited to see a rendition of the Penguin because I don't know, he hasn't gotten a lot of movie love.
He had Danny DeVito.
He did
in
have
Batman
Danny
Forever,
DeVito.
and I don't know how you're going to beat Danny DeVito.
You're not wrong.
I mean, he wasn't like a great villain or anything, but he is Danny DeVito.
He is Danny DeVito.
All right, with that wraps up our final chat of the day, and that is going to wrap up our Season 3 remaster, where we're clocking in at a whopping 1 hour and 3 minutes, so it's the entertainment hour and 3 minutes for the day. Just before we go, we are going to plug the other two Alternative Edge podcasts. Make sure you go out and listen to Football and Focused with our favorite people, as always, Austin West and Lavelle Harris, talking everything NFL, college football, you name it, they've got it. Fantasy picks, they'll help you with the upcoming season if you're looking to do your draft, and they might even invite you to the league if they want to interact with you and you ask them questions on Twitter, which you can find them at Football and Focused. Also, the Braden and Collins Show is back. They've already debuted their first episode of their Season 2 premiere. That is Colin Imhoff and Braden Burgum with the Braden and Collins Show, a personal chat between two best friends and roommates here on the Alternative Edge. We will be back with more Alternative Edge and the Entertainment Hour next week. But for now, from Tanner Frost, Mason Wickett, and Diego Huerta, we will be signing off for the week. So long, stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll be back. Hey, thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Entertainment Hour. We hope you really enjoyed it. If you want to hear more of our show or the other wonderful KBVU podcasts like Lost and Found, The Braden and Collins Show, or Football Unfocused, you can find them on our SoundCloud page named KBVU. You can also download episodes and subscribe to The Alternative Edge on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Wherever you listen, whenever you want to, KBVU Podcasts and The Alternative Edge are here for you. That's KBVU on SoundCloud and The Alternative Edge on Spotify and Apple Podcasts for more.